It is I, that which you abuse frequently. Why do I say abuse? Because there I go, just walking down the street, minding my own business, when BAM! You hit me with too many ideas. I'm kidding, of course. There's never such a thing as too many ideas. And that's not what I want to talk about today. It was just a distraction. Hey, look over there. Whoa. I'm kidding. I want to talk about, since it is almost Halloween, which is next week. I want to talk about bad guys. Not so much bad guys as monsters. This actually was inspired by a review of Dracula Theory. And in the review, the reviewer said that I made the character of Dracula and that the story was almost heartwarming. Which, to me, means that I succeeded in what I set out to do. Now, one of the things that if Muse, and you know because you know all of the stories and you've maybe read them, I don't know. I don't know if a Muse needs to read their writer's work. But if you've read any of my work, you know that there is a common theme throughout many of them, especially the horror novels. And that theme is that mankind, or humankind, is actually the most monstrous beast of all. We are capable of doing such horrendous atrocities. You just have to look throughout time, throughout history. Crack open a history book, and you will see what the human creature is capable of. Think Hitler, think Pol Pot, think genocide during any generation. We are so capable of destroying one another and the planet. We do untold damage every day. And so when I started out as a writer, I didn't do this consciously back then, but I set out to hold the mirror up to society, to say, who truly is the beast? Now, there's a unique phenomena. Don't know why I said that, but ignore it. There's a unique phenomena that goes on throughout fiction. And actually, it does kind of trickle into nonfiction as well, into reality, as it were. And I'm going to use Silence of the Lambs as an example, because Silence of the Lambs is something that so many people have in their canon of memory. Silence of the Lambs was a fantastic movie. The book was good, but it was one of those instances where the book was so outshined by the movie. And I will tell you why. Silence of the Lambs was one of the first times that society as a whole embraced the bad guy. We all loved Hannibal Lecter, and it was because of Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins' performance as that character made us love that role. Had it been anybody else playing the character, we don't know. But we sympathized and empathized with him. There was just something about him. Now, you can look in the history books with reality to find people that are similar. Jim Jones was so charismatic that he was able to convince those people that followed him to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. For some people, for some writers, one of their biggest problems is creating one- and two-dimensional bad guys. And the problem with that is that readers tend to hate them and have no sympathy for them. When in reality, we're all people. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule, but in reality, we're all people. And most every person has an element of their existence that could arouse sympathy from someone. And it is those multiple dimensions that make characters interesting. Now, I once played, way back early in my career as an actor, I played a bad guy in a show. I don't even remember what show it was. I remember the character's name was Owen. That's all I remember. And it may have been The Foreigner. I can't remember. So long ago. But anyway, I distinctly remember that I was having trouble with the character because the character was a racist. And I had a lot of trouble really existing in those shoes. It was hard because I don't have those thoughts and feelings. So I remember once the director during rehearsal said, look, what's missing is that you haven't found anything that you like about this character. You haven't found anything that, because you haven't found anything you like about the character, we have found nothing that we like about what you're doing. Ouch. But anyway, that set a light off in my head, and I thought, I've got to find something that I can grasp onto about this character that will allow there to be some level of sympathy. Not necessarily for what the character thinks, but maybe what brought the character to where he thinks. And in the process of me making that discovery, it brought dimension to the character. Now, I have written a lot of bad guys. And I do remember that when I wrote A Blade Away, I was writing this character and the bad guy was really, really messed up. And what he was doing was so far beyond reproach that at first it was almost too much. And it made me and it made beta readers uncomfortable because originally there was no backstory. There was nothing that not only caused this character to want to do these things, but gave the reader any level of sympathy for this character. So when these bad guys have no sympathy, or when the readers have no sympathy for the bad guys, readers just tend to brush them off. And most often, in that case, they'll brush the book off. So what happened with that particular book is I decided there had to be a reason for this character to do the things he's doing. So what I did, and this is pretty common, I mined that character's childhood and gave him all the impetus he needed to grow up and feel like he needed to do the things he did in that book. And because I did that, readers all of a sudden said, oh wow, I get it. I get why he's doing this. I don't approve of what he's doing, clearly, but I get why he's doing it. I think people compartmentalize and they say, I really felt for him as a child. My heart went out to him. I wanted to save that child. Now, as an adult, my heart does not go out to him, but I have that thread of sympathy that goes back to his childhood that allows me to continue reading this because I understand where he's coming from. I don't accept or approve. And obviously he needs to rot in jail, but I get it. And the same thing holds true with monsters. And that's what I did. I did that with Frankenstein theory. I did it with Dracula theory. I twisted, I turned the tables. I flipped them completely. And I said, what if we had it all wrong? And I did the same thing with the Nameless Saga. Now, with the Nameless Saga, I decided to pose the question, what if we had the bad guys and the good guys within the realm of religion wrong? And if everything that we were taught was opposite. And so the bad guys became the good guys, and the good guys became the bad guys, and it was kind of chaotic. So I think that anyone who opts to go the route of horror or thrillers or anything that would include a bad guy, and I mean a real bad guy, you are beholden to find out what it is that you or your readers can love about that character. That doesn't mean that you want to make them fall in love with those characters. That doesn't mean you want people fangirling and fanboying over these characters like we had in a particular Netflix series. I don't even remember. It was a Ted Bundy series where there was all this drama about they have romanticized Ted Bundy. You don't want to necessarily do that. But you want to give these, you either want to do what I do and point the mirror at society and say, who truly is the bad guy? I did that with the iZombie series completely. That's really where I started to intentionally make that choice. Prior to that, it was all unintentional. And I think what happened was I started going back through all my books and I started realizing that I was doing this. And I thought, well, if I was unintentionally doing this, wouldn't it make an even better, bolder choice if I did it on purpose? Right? I have a light shining right there, don't I? That needs to be out of the frame. Good gravy! You're seeing how the sausage is made. And you're going to sympathize with me. Now watch this. Woo! You're going to sympathize with me because I had a light in the frame. Anyway, that's not the point. That's okay. It's decoration. It's set decoration. Consider it that. But I think that when we do this, we create more compelling creatures, beasts, bad guys, whatever you want to call it. And yes, it is always tempting to go the whole black and white route, to make everything binary. But when you make everything binary, it becomes predictable, right? One of the things about Star Wars is in those first, especially that first book, the first movie, everything was very black and white. Luke Skywalker was the good guy and Darth Vader was the bad guy. And we had no reason to think otherwise. And it wasn't until later on that we got a little bit of backstory where, well, later on, as in when society became a little bit more enlightened, yeah, and intelligent, and said, now, we don't like this whole black and white binary thing that you got going on. You need to add a little more depth to it. So they gave some backstory to say, well, maybe this good guy's not always so good, and maybe this bad guy's always not so bad. So even good people can sympathize with Darth Vader. Even an average person can maybe say, I'm on Dracula's side. And maybe if you read Dracula theory, you might find yourself saying that very thing. Right? Give it a try. I think you will. I think you'll like it. In fact, you can go through pretty much any of my books and go, huh, maybe I like the bad guy. Maybe I'm so confused. There's even a point in the iZombie series where you might go, wow, we really screwed these zombies up. Or we created them. These things are our fault. Then if you really think about it, a lot of bad things that happen are our fault. Anyway, Muse, that's all I got to say today. I apologize for the ghastly light in the frame. But hey, you know what? Deal with it. This is live. Or is it? Or is it Memorex? Or am I but a shadow? A ghost, as it were. A ghost from the past, haunting you and reminding you that, Muse, you are awesome. Ooh.